Call it Park Bubba Sparks.
Booty, 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 rockin' everywhere. Booty, booty.
Hey, I don't know what to do.
So YouTube, in this video, I want to talk about with phlebotomy, one of y'all favorite subjects. So with phlebotomy, basically, I had seen in the comments, I have two videos to actually cover it for you guys. One, most people want to know as far as for what does the medical receptionist do for working at a plasma center. I'll do a whole nother video on that. But this video is going to talk about why do the phlebotomist that works in the hospitals get paid more. So with this video is very simple. Basically, when you're working as a phlebotomist at a hospital, you're at a bigger practice. So of course you'll get more money handed to you. You're working with a lot more patients. When you're working at a plasma center, yes, you're getting nonstop patients. You're averaging about more than 100 patients a day. But however, plasma centers are more so a smaller practice. They may have so many different plasma centers as far as for within states and stuff like that. But however, it's not like it's such a big, humongous plasma center. Now, one thing I can say about plasma centers, when I was working as a phlebotomist at a plasma center, I was only making about like $10, $11 an hour. Now, the more that you know, the more money that you get. But that's not major. However, like say for instance, I started off as a donor floor technician, starting off at like $10 an hour. When I learned phlebotomy, that was a 75-cent raise. When I learned receptionist, that was like a 50-cent raise. So it wasn't like I was getting so much major. It was just like the more you know, the better the opportunity. Now, when working at a hospital, you may start off as far as for like 15 an hour. You know, because that's what you being at a bigger company. On top of that, more benefits come along with that and more experience that you'll be doing. When working as a hospital phlebotomist, it's not only just a phlebotomist. You can also be a laboratory technician. You can also be the specimen deliverer or something like that. You know, it's different departments that you can do as far as for working as a phlebotomist in the hospital. And it, you know, triggers you to different spots where you can kind of get cross-trained and get your experience and then move on to something else. Now, one thing I can say for instance, you start off with like $15 an hour as a phlebotomist as a hospital. 6 months from now, you'll probably be making like 18 an hour. Because like I said, the more that you know, they will give you a raise on more that you know as well too. And, you know, that can kind of pay off. One of the hospitals that I know here in Florida that pays a lot of money, working at Mayo Clinic, working at St. Vincent's, working at UF Health. You know, they have those type of hospitals. Now, the hospitals, depending on whatever state that you're in, you might want to go ahead and look up to see as far as for how much you'll be making as far as for a phlebotomist. But I definitely feel like it's a lot more secure and people know exactly what they're doing. We're working at a hospital phlebotomist. One thing I can say is that not every phlebotomist in the hospital know what they're doing. It has been plenty of times when I was working as a pain management medical assistant and I would see some of the patients come to our office and on their arm is like bruised up. And I'm like, what happened? And they're like, I just came from the hospital or I just came from the ER and they had a hard time locating my vein. I got stuck like 8 times. That's a big no-no. Like, if you're literally getting hired to be a phlebotomist at the hospital, please know what you're doing. If you're unsure as far as for what you're doing, go get someone that actually knows what they're doing. Me personally, one of my rules when I was always a phlebotomist at a plasma center, I only want to stick the donor once, or I only want to stick the patient once, to the most 2, but you want to try to get it on the first stick. Your patient can feel when you don't know what you're doing. Your patient gets terrified when you don't know what you're doing. And your patient gets impatient when they're getting stuck so many times. Like, you wouldn't want nobody fishing in your arm for a vein. So at the end of the day, if you don't know what you're doing and you can't locate that vein and feel it, or if you feel like the vein is rolling or something on you, go get someone else that does know what they're doing, because it's just putting the patient a lot at risk. And some of the patients, they literally leave the ER or the hospital with a bruised up arm, and it's a lot of terrifying stories. So that's something that I would do. On the average, how much does a hospital phlebotomist makes per year? I would say to the most probably like $48,000 to $50,000 a year. It all depends on the state that you're in. Like I say, Florida is kind of like where I feel like they give the bare minimum when it comes to phlebotomists. Like, it's so easy to get hired on as a phlebotomist when you have a certificate and also a certification. But however, it's just the fact that the matter is phlebotomists do a lot of work. The average daytime for a phlebotomist is pretty much 5 in the morning to like 3 p.m. or you could do a 6 a.m. to a 2 p.m. It all depends, but I definitely feel like, you know, it sometimes pay off, but sometimes it is overwhelming. And on top of that, you know, your patient's reactions and stuff, that plays a part as well too. So that's something that I would definitely think about when trying to become a hospital phlebotomist. Don't always just try to go for the money. At the end of the day, going for the money sometimes is good, but you want to make sure you actually like your job and actually like the company and actually like what you're doing. If you guys have any questions or anything, leave it in the comments down below. I'll make sure I provide for you guys some links as far as for to navigate to my other videos of phlebotomy. And if you guys have any other requests, leave it down below because I'll make sure I check that. Don't forget to keep up with Desi, and y'all stay safe. Peace, y'all.